community at the University of Warsaw and the next steps to be taken. Mrs. WOŁODKO, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm starting to share my screen. I hope you can see this. My preliminary remark number one is there's more on my slides than I intend to say, but the presentation is available from UNICA webpage if you are interested. And since we cannot meet in person as planned before, I put some extra pictures of my university, my library, and our garden on the roof just to show you what you need to see next time visiting Warsaw. I could begin my presentation with a discussion of what open science is and what are its advantages, but I'm sure that this audience already knows the answers to these questions. I would rather prefer to share with you a brief quotation that, in my opinion, best captures the essence of it. Open science returns us to the values of science to help advance and improve society. I'm citing the website of the PLOS, Published Library of Science, non-profit open access publisher. The graphic on this slide is hosted on Flickr service under a Creative Commons license. It is not only science that can be and should be open. My presentation will discuss, this is, by the way, University of Warsaw Library Garden. My presentation will discuss how libraries, especially academic libraries, approach open science. What are their practices, how the open science transformed them, and what further changes we expect to see in the near and far future. To understand the position of academic libraries, we must first familiarize ourselves with the activity of the international library associations, which provide their members, as well as the rest of the librarian community, with a space for discussion. Also, these regarding open science, as well as suggest the direction and program of further actions. I will present select organizations on whose services I rely most often. OCLC, Online Computer Library Center, presents itself as a global cooperative that provides shared technology services, original research, and community programs for its membership and the library community at large. The motto of the organization is, because what is known must be shared. OCLC has a special unit devoted to analysis and research. Every year, they carry out a wide-reaching survey. The studies at the turn of 2018 and 19 focused on the issues of open science. The report, written by Titia van der Werf from OCLC Research, same direction, different trajectories, is available from the OCLC webpage. It was really huge research survey. 705 libraries from 82 countries participated. The majority of academic libraries answered that their current and planned activities related to the open content involved exactly these activities: running institutional repositories, supporting users, instructing digital literacy programs, and promoting the discovery of open content. The graph mapping the answers to the question regarding the number of years involved in open content activities show that the libraries started with institutional repositories and with digitizing their collections and running digital libraries. It's in these areas that they have the most experience. The answers to the question, for which of your current and planned open content activities would you like to accelerate the impact, show that the majority of libraries intend to develop the data services, which is promising, become involved in advocacy and policies, and support authors, research, teachers. The important conclusion of this study is that there is a relation between the activity of libraries, especially academic libraries, and the state-level politics of open science, which we may see most clearly in the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, and Netherlands. In countries where law regulates open science, the libraries may be and are more active. LIBER, Association of European Research Libraries, is the most experienced and most committed library association when it comes to the open science. It had created separate units called Open Science Working Group. LIBER Quarterly, a peer-reviewed open access journal of LIBER, regularly publishes articles of open science. During the pandemic, LIBER decided to open its annual conference organized online. Anyone might have attended for free. All presentations and sessions were recorded and published on LIBER's website with no restrictions of access. I should mention here the LIBER Open Science Roadmap, a kind of report which presents the following areas of focus: scholarly publishing, fair data, research infrastructure and the European Open Science Cloud, metrics and rewards, open science skills, research integrity, and citizen science. This document also discusses the libraries with best practices listed as open science champions. As we can see, they include libraries from different parts of Europe, from the European Union as well as from other countries. It shows that no matter what the situation is, an academic library may commit to open science for the sake of its users and the entire scholarly community. The areas of focus identified in LIBER Open Science Roadmap were the subject of the discussion co-organized this fall by LIBER and OCLC. A summary from this discussion is available on the OCLC research blog, Hanging Together. The largest library association, IFLA, International Federation of Library Association and Institutions, is less invested in open science than LIBER, but the subject usually features in the programs of its annual congresses. The great advantage of these events is their fully international character, the opportunity to leave our personal bubbles and meet librarians from other continents and cultural spheres. I will now mention two papers from the last IFLA Congress held in Athens in 2019, one authored by the Pakistani-Australian team, the other by a Mexican one. The first paper shared concern that the libraries that actively promoted open science will become victims of their own success when the users, knowing the value of open science, will no longer need to rely on the mediation offered by the librarians and the libraries. My personal remark on this, it's more or less third big threat for the profession. We had to deal with the general abuse of internet, then the common digitization of resources, and all these revolutions was supposed to be the end of the profession. This time I feel also quite safe as a librarian. There is no agreement on whether research and information services will become more or less important as the open science develops. Librarians rest their hopes in the skills and experiences they acquired, as well as the flexibility and capacity for adjustment which their work requires from them every day. I'd like to also mention a document published by LERU, League of European Research Universities, Open Science and its Role in Universities, a Roadmap for Cultural Change. While LERU isn't a library association, libraries are on concern to its members, research-intensive university. LERU's roadmap describes different stakeholders in the research data environment, identifying roles and responsibilities also for the library. Finally, I must mention the activity of UNICA. Last year's scholarly communication seminar in Vilnius gave rise to an important exchange of information and experiences. regarding academic libraries' response to the challenging of open science and the different models of cooperation between libraries and university presses. Such conferences allows us also to share best practices. The list of open science champions should be expanded by University of Oulu Library, which implements a thorough program of responsible research. Helsinki University Library, with its vast array of options and services for open access publishing and research, or the University of Edinburgh with its research data support service. The next picture shows you the University of Warsaw main gate. My home institution has so far taken a bottom-up, decentralized approach to open science, but the change is coming. In 2019, the Ministry of Higher Education and Science held the Excellence Initiative Research University competition. The University of Warsaw placed first. The proposal by the University of Warsaw prepared for this competition includes a description of 5 priority research areas and 70 actions planned for the period of 2020-2026 to make the university more internationally recognized as a center of research. One such action was to plan and implement open access policy and to set up an institutional repository. The University of Warsaw Library is responsible for this action. We intend to make the most of the experience of the institutions that already have experience in the area. As my presentation shows, good models abound. The University of Warsaw Library promotes open science with small-scale, consistent efforts to increase the awareness of its advantages. We offer individual consultation, workshop. The most recent is called Open Up and Be Proud, how open science practices promote your scientific input. And it seems to me very important that researchers should be aware that they are the biggest beneficiaries of opening their work. We also offered large amounts of information materials of our website. The person in the newly created position of the Open Science Officer is responsible for open science activities both in the main library and in 40 departmental libraries. University of Warsaw Library Garden on the roof again. Where are we now and where are we going in the age of open science? I have a few things to say. Academic libraries are active in the area of open science. Some have been for a very long time and have gained much experience. We have many models of good practices, projects, and education resources. I have to mention here the Foster project, which is an excellent platform for education and promoting open science. Librarians fear that with a free and full access to all kinds of content, the users will no longer need them, but these fears may be conquered if the libraries become more proactive. Academic libraries work together with universities to open science, but the scope and pace of this process should be regulated at a higher level, at the university and state level. Recent decision of European Research Council to withdraw the support for Plan S shows that both scope and pace should be well planned in advance. An academic library is a university beating hard, also when it comes to open science practices. However, to maintain its core position in the future, we need to make an effort and work hard. As my men say, sometimes you need to run to stay where you are. I believe it's possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think it gives us some important points to think about in terms of different kind of challenges that the university libraries and the universities need to think about in terms of open science and access with what we actually struggle on a daily basis in terms of the research and innovation policies and open science and open access and the role of the university libraries in this procedure. So thank you very much for your presentation. There will be time for asking questions at the end of our webinar. And now I would like to give the floor to our next speaker, Mr. Willem Widmark, who is the Library Director of Stockholm University and the Director of Stockholm University Press. And he will tell us how Stockholm University is building its new infrastructure to satisfy the needs of the researchers. Well, let us give open science the attention it deserves. Presentation begin.
Thank you, Diana. I will share my screen.